You were not created to be dragged around by your feelings, but to rule over them with firmness. Yet many times life tests your calm, a sharp comment, a glance that cuts, words thrown to wound, or moments that look like they exist only to push you off center. And every time you explode in anger, get restless, or drown in frustration, you are handing your strength away as if offering it on a silver plate. Now picture this. None of these things are able to move you. Imagine walking through any storm with the quiet confidence of someone who already knows the victory is theirs, even before the battle begins. This was the secret power of those remembered in history, not hiding behind fake coldness, but guiding their mind until they rose above every attempt to provoke them. Today I will show you how to take on that same position, an attitude that commands respect, sparks admiration, and leaves you in total control of yourself. And the very first step is simple. Right here, right now, decide to keep your strength. Even if you have never done this before, choose to start today, because when you stay calm while the world turns upside down, it is not only your reaction that changes, it is your entire path that begins to shift. And before we dive in, I'll just ask one thing. Like this video, share it, and subscribe. That way, this message can reach more people who are also searching for light. Let's begin. 1. Surpass fear and shame. Fear and shame are like hidden rivers. You cannot see them, but they pull you quietly and decide the direction of your steps. They make you question yourself, back away before even trying, and cover up who you really are because of the terror of being judged. That is the most harmful part. Most of the time, you don't even stop to ask where they came from. You just assume, this is me. But that's not the truth. Fear and shame are emotions we pick up and learn, often built from old ideas that no longer match your life today. The first move to free yourself is not escape. It's turning to face them. Watch calmly how these feelings show up in your body, what thoughts they bring with them, and in which moments they appear. Maybe you'll notice that the fear freezing you was born from one moment years ago, or that the shame you drag around was planted by rules that were never yours. When you push them down or try to hide them, they only grow stronger. When you see them clearly without blaming yourself, they shrink. Practice watching yourself. The next time fear shows up before a challenge, don't fight it blindly. Pause and say, I see you. I know you're here, but you won't stop me. And when shame tries to push your head down, breathe and remind yourself, I'm human. I don't need to be perfect to be brave. For the Stoics, courage doesn't mean having no fear. It means noticing your feelings but not letting them drive you. Building self-kindness is essential. It's not about making excuses, but about treating yourself with the same gentleness you would give to a good friend. If your friend felt this way, you would encourage them, not punish them. So treat yourself the same way. When you begin doing this, you win a freedom few people have. You act even while afraid. You show your real self even if someone judges you. You understand that challenges are not walls, but doors that lead to a stronger, more real version of you. Fear stops being an enemy and turns into a signal showing where your next step of growth is. Shame stops being a heavy weight and becomes a reminder that you are human. And being human does not mean weak, it means alive. This doesn't mean fear and shame will vanish. It means that even if they are present, they won't be steering your life. You will still move, speak, choose, and act, even if your heart is racing and your palms are sweaty. And every time you do this, their grip gets weaker. Test it now. Think about something you've been avoiding because of fear or shame. Talking in front of people, saying what's really on your mind, beginning a project, or starting a conversation with someone new. Do it this week, not because you feel ready, but because you don't. Show yourself that you don't need to wait for fear to disappear in order to move forward. Each time you step toward what frightens you, you rewrite the story you carry inside. You teach your brain that stepping outside your safe zone will not destroy you, and that showing yourself does not lower your value. On the other side of fear and shame, there is not just freedom, there is the strongest version of who you are. If you let them run your life, you'll never know your true reach. Look them directly, name them, and take a step anyway. When you do, you'll discover something priceless, the solid certainty that nothing inside or outside of you has the power to stop you. 2. Defend who you are in any scenario. There exists a strength that only a few learn to master, the ability to act as if nothing in the world had the power to crush you. It is not about pretending things don't exist or numbing your heart. It is about choosing with awareness and firmness that no insult, unfairness, or betrayal will rob your calm or pull you away from the road you decided to follow. Think about the story of Joseph, betrayed by his own brothers, sold like an object, blamed for something he never did, and locked away in prison without reason. He had every excuse to fill himself with anger and scream that life was cruel. But he went the other way. He held on to his honor, worked with care even behind bars, and waited in silence until God opened the right door. And when that day finally came, he was prepared. That is the true mastery, feeling the sting but not letting the sting drive your answer. It is not being made of ice, it is being full of wisdom. Because when you explode without thinking, you hand over the reins of your life to people who don't deserve that power. But when you stay calm, you do it not for applause but to guard your own strength. You don't feed empty quarrels, you don't fall for obvious traps, you don't waste your fire trying to prove your worth. You stay fixed on what counts, your values, your work, your calling. And it is this steadiness that lifts you above those who wanted to see you fall. In the lessons of Stoicism, peace in the face of attack is the mark of a spirit that cannot be broken, because nothing outside can shake the one who belongs fully to themselves. Next time someone tries to push you off balance, do this. Stop, breathe deep, notice what you are feeling, but refuse to let that feeling rule your choice. Most of the time, you will see that answering in the heat of the moment would only feed the pride of the other person. Remember, you don't have to display every emotion. Your inside world is not open ground, especially for those who aim to wound you. Many times, silence speaks louder than words. It is not about choking your feelings, but about working through them wisely, turning your anger, your sadness, and your hurt into steps that lift you higher. In this way, the energy that others try to use to bring you down becomes the fire that makes you rise. When you show mastery over yourself, life recognizes that it can trust you with more. More tasks, more reach, more doors opening. Because the one who is not ruled by rage is the one who can handle power without destroying themselves along the way. So when the next provocation comes, think again of Joseph. He didn't clear his name by shouting, nor did he chase revenge right away. He stayed steady, worked with care, and let his actions speak louder than his pain. And this carried him from a prison cell to a royal palace. You too can step into your palace, but only if you stop handing your peace to whoever tries to steal it. The real victory lies in proving that what matters most remains untouched, your purpose, your honor, and your self-command. This is the treasure that no passing season can ever take away. 3. Defend your peace, not your ego. Many battles you fight are not for your peace, they are for your ego. And even if you deny it, you know it is true. You argue to make things clear, respond so you do not look bad, spend hours trying to make others think of you the way you want them to think. But at what cost? Every time you defend your pride instead of your energy, you are spending life force on what matters least. Pride seeks approval. It wants to be recognized, applauded. Wisdom seeks peace. You do not have to win every discussion or correct every misunderstanding. The truth does not need a desperate lawyer. If what you are depends on the belief of others, you are not free. And if you are not free, any harsh word or poorly interpreted gesture can take away your calm. Protecting your energy means refusing to enter meaningless wars. It means understanding that not every provocation deserves a response. Not every rumor deserves clarification. Not everyone needs to hear your side of the story. Sometimes silence is your best defense, not because you lack arguments, but because you have priorities. Next time you feel like putting someone in their place, ask yourself, Does this bring me closer to peace, or does it only feed my ego? Will winning this discussion give me something real, or just a fleeting satisfaction? 9 out of 10 times the answer will be, it is not worth it. In Stoicism, true power is in choosing what deserves your response. The one that does not control your attention controls your life. Don't confuse it with frankness. Not answering is not to give up. It is to master yourself. Who does not need to fight to validate their own value is stronger than those who scream to impose themselves. Calming down provocation is a sign of true control. So, practice in little things. When someone criticizes you unfoundedly, breathe and follow. When they distort your words, don't pursue each person to correct. Or when a comment hurts your pride, ask if it is really worth spending energy on this, or if silence can speak louder. Each time you avoid feeding a useless battle, you store energy for what matters: your goals, your well-being, and the people who really value your essence. Pride, when governing life, makes you a slave to others' opinions. Any provocation manipulates you like a puppet. But when you decide to protect your energy, you become unreachable. They can no longer control you with a comment, not even steal your calm easily. This never means not to defend. It means choosing with wisdom when to do so. Some battles are necessary, most are not. The challenge is to recognize the difference and have the discipline to let those that are not worth it go. Over time, your peace makes it harder to disturb. What others think no longer takes your sleep, because you know your value is not negotiable. This is the goal, to live in a way your energy is reserved for what builds, not for what destroys. Don't let pride be the captain of your ship. Let consciousness decide where you sail. In the end, approval is forgotten, but your peace remains. And when you protect your energy above the ego, you have already won the most important battle, not losing yourself. 4. Who learns to bend never breaks. Life will place you right in front of storms that you cannot control. And in those moments, the way you react will decide whether you grow stronger or whether you collapse. Many people think that real strength means becoming hard and resisting no matter what, like a wall made of stone. But stiffness, sooner or later, cracks. Real strength is found in learning how to bend without snapping, just like bamboo. Picture the oak tree, tall, firm, and looking unshakable. Yet when the wind howls with great force, its solidness rips it from the ground. Now picture bamboo. The storm comes, the wind pushes and bends it, but when everything calms down, it straightens back up unharmed. That is the power that helps you survive in the toughest times, being able to adapt while staying true to who you are. Flexibility does not mean being weak, and adjusting does not mean giving up. It means finding ways to move forward even when life changes, choosing new paths without abandoning your values, and welcoming change while keeping your balance. Being emotionally rigid is like carrying a ticking bomb. The more you insist that everything must follow your will, the more pressure piles up inside. And when that pressure bursts, it shows up as rage, stress, disappointment, or even sickness. Bamboo, however, lets go of that pressure. It accepts that bending a little is part of staying alive. For the Stoics, real strength is not blind resistance, but learning to go with what cannot be stopped while keeping virtue and inner calm. When you are faced with a challenge, take a breath and ask yourself, what can I truly change and what must I accept as it is? By focusing only on what belongs to your control, you save energy and use your strength where it actually matters. Acting like bamboo gives you an edge. Crises that destroy others become moments of growth for you. Of course you feel the weight of the storm, but you refuse to let it break you. You shift direction, take another approach, and when the storm ends, you remain standing. Being flexible also makes learning faster. The stiff person thinks they already know everything and keeps repeating what doesn't work. The flexible person instead listens, observes, adjusts, and dares to try something new. This allows them to react quickly in ways that rigid people never can. Practice this way of thinking. When things do not go as you imagined, instead of pushing harder against the same wall, Pause, step back, and search for another route. Sometimes the straight path is blocked, but a hidden side road leads to the same goal, and only those willing to move can find it. The bamboo bends, but its roots stay strong. That is how you should be, soft in shape, but unshakable in principles. Nothing should steal your honesty, but nothing should stop you from changing the way you act to reach your purpose. Over time, you will realize that being flexible not only lessens pain, but also makes you tougher than any kind of stiffness. Because while others shatter trying to resist the unavoidable, you continue forward with less exhaustion, more peace, and a clearer mind. Life will not stop throwing challenges, but you always choose how to respond. If you decide to act like bamboo, every storm becomes proof that your core remains whole. Even when everything around you shifts, hardness may look like power, but true power is in surviving, and it belongs to those who know how to bend without ever breaking. 5. Each irritation is training for your calm and inner strength. Every annoyance you face is actually a hidden chance in disguise. You don't notice it because your mind has been taught to react right away, to complain, and to get dragged around by tiny things. But if you choose to see it differently, every little discomfort turns into a gym for your emotional muscles. The traffic jam that slows you down, the stranger who cuts in front of you, the mean joke someone makes for no reason. All those moments that normally steal your peace can make you stronger if you decide to use them that way. The calm needed to face a huge challenge doesn't suddenly appear. It's built by practicing with small annoyances until self-control becomes natural. Most people waste these practices. They meet an irritation, they explode, they drain their energy, and they let one small detail ruin everything. Each time you do that, it's like dropping the weights before finishing the exercise. If you want real emotional power, you have to lift the weight. And those tiny irritations are the weights that build resilience. The next time something small bothers you, don't treat it as an enemy. Stop, breathe, and notice exactly what's happening in your body. Maybe your teeth clench, maybe your chest feels hot, maybe your thoughts start racing. See it clearly, but don't react. Keep in mind, this is not an attack, it's practice. In Stoic thought, even the smallest and most unimportant things can shape your character if you face them with purpose. This way of thinking is powerful because life never gives you warning before the big storm shows up. If you haven't practiced calm in the little moments, it will be almost impossible to keep it when everything feels like it's falling apart. It's like trying to lift a 100-kilogram weight without ever training with 10. Patience, discipline, and inner peace are like muscles. If you don't train them, they grow weak. The good news is that practice is free and always around you. The long line at the store becomes patience training. The loud neighbor becomes a focus challenge. The slow traffic becomes a test to find solutions instead of wasting energy in complaints. It doesn't mean you must accept everything in silence, but that you can treat every irritation as an exercise. Train your breathing, train your inner talk, train your focus to stay on what's important. At the start, your first impulse will still be the old one. Get upset, argue, point fingers. But the more you practice, the faster you'll move from irritation to control. Soon, a day will come when, before anger even has time to grow, you'll already be answering with calm because your brain has been trained that way. And in a world where most people react without thinking, that becomes a real superpower. Ask yourself, if you can't handle one careless driver, how will you handle betrayal? If you lose your temper waiting a few minutes, how will you keep going for a whole year while chasing a big dream? Life gives you little tests so you can be ready for the big ones. It's your choice to use those tests or waste them. From now on, let every irritation become training. No matter how small or silly it looks, whenever you feel annoyed, smile inside and think, "Thank you for this free practice." Then go on with your day, proud that you are strengthening the greatest muscle of all, your self-control. True emotional power isn't born in comfort, but in discomfort. And if you treat every small discomfort as another repetition in your workout, when the big trial comes, you'll be more ready than you can imagine. But there is a catch. If you've been trying for a long time to get out of conformism and ignorance and you can't seem to do it, Maybe it's for other reasons that you don't know what's causing it. But I know what it is. It's anxiety. Anxiety comes like a silent snake and poisons you without you feeling it. It leaves you infected for days, months, and even years. And if you have it, it would be like living sick. However, there is an antidote from the Stoics which, together with modern psychology, can rid you of all this, just as it did me. I made a video showing how you can get rid of this poison in your life. It's in the first comment. Click on the link in the first comment and cure yourself of this anxiety poison. 6. How not to let disappointment knock you down. No matter who you are or how carefully you prepare, there will always be moments when things don't go the way you hoped. A plan breaks down, a chance slips through your fingers, or a promise isn't kept. Many people crumble at these times, as if one failure decides their worth or locks in their future forever. But that isn't the truth. Letdowns are not punishments, they are signals. They are proof that something didn't work out, not proof that you are useless. The real problem is that we were taught to mix up what happens with who we are. I didn't succeed, so I must be a loser. This thought is poisonous. It drains your energy and traps you in a loop of blaming yourself. Building strength against disappointment starts with changing the way you see it. When something doesn't work, tell yourself, this is just information, not a sentence. Saying this helps reset the way you react. More than that, it reminds you that your job is not to attack yourself but to grow. Think of the greatest inventors, champions, and leaders in history. They failed over and over, more times than they got things right. The difference is, they didn't freeze when they stumbled. They studied what went wrong, made changes, and tried again. Every mistake became another piece of the puzzle, not a sign to quit. For the Stoics, outside events are neither good nor bad on their own. The meaning comes from how we judge them. If you choose to see disappointment as a teacher, it stops being a threat. This doesn't mean you won't feel upset, angry, or sad, but instead of staying trapped in those feelings, you can turn them into energy to keep moving and learning. The quicker you move from the shock of the moment to calmly looking at it, the less time you lose and the stronger you become. Make it a practice. Whenever something goes wrong, ask yourself, what was not the same as I expected? What is actually under my control? And what can I do better? What step will I take differently next time? When you answer those questions, the hit turns into a lesson and the lesson becomes a plan. That is the dividing line between people who bounce back and people who sink. A lot of disappointment comes from believing the world should bend to our wishes. But life doesn't exist to match our demands. Accepting this makes disappointment lighter. Picture your mind like a muscle. Each time you face something tough and choose to learn instead of pitying yourself, it's like lifting weights. At first, it feels heavy, but with time your strength grows. Eventually, a stumble won't knock you flat anymore. Instead, it pushes you forward. Remember, disappointment is not your ending. It's a filter. If you fall today, stand up, adjust yourself, and keep walking. Real loss is not in failing, it's in deciding to stop trying. Your worth doesn't shrink just because things went badly. What changes is your knowledge, your vision, and your power, if you choose to learn. And here lies your hidden strength. Every time you rise after a disappointment, you become tougher, smarter, and harder to defeat. 7. You are not your results. If you judge your worth only by what you achieve, you will live stuck on an endless emotional ride. When things go well, you overflow with pride. When things go badly, you drown in doubt and harsh self-talk. And this back and forth never ends, because results are always unstable. One moment you're on top, the next you're down low. But your worth should not rise and fall with outcomes. Building your self-esteem only on achievements is like putting a house on soft sand. Sooner or later it will collapse. Results depend on many things you cannot control: the economy, the opinions of others, unexpected changes that come overnight. If who you are is tied to these things, then any gust of wind can knock you over. When you separate your value from your results, you take back your power. You begin to measure life by how true you are to your principles, by the effort you give, by the honesty in your actions. And this does not mean settling for less, but freeing yourself from the choking fear of failing, because your worth is no longer tied to winning or losing, but to how you play the game. Next time you finish something important, instead of asking, "Did I win or lose?" and ask yourself, "Did I stay loyal to my values? Did I give my all? Did I gain something that makes me stronger for the future?" If the answer is yes, then you have already succeeded, even if the outside result wasn't what you wanted. For the Stoics, personal value lives in virtue, not in success. The only things you fully control are your thoughts, your actions, and your character. Everything else is external and should not decide your self-worth. Thinking this way protects you from judgment and criticism. Once you know that your value doesn't depend on approval from others, opinions lose the power to crush you. Good moments bring you joy, but not arrogance. Criticism makes you reflect, but not freeze. The shift is deep. You stop needing a win to feel good about yourself, and you start feeling good because you lived by what you believe. And that is a foundation that nothing can break, because it rests in your own control. Practice this every day. If you work out, don't count only the weight lost, but also the discipline of keeping your word to yourself. If you share an idea and it is rejected, don't measure only the yes or no, but also the courage and effort you put into it. With time, this way of thinking builds toughness. You may lose a business, a job, or an opportunity and still stay upright, because you know this does not lower your worth or your ability to keep trying. And here is the most powerful part. When your value is not tied to results, you become bolder. You don't play just to guard your ego, but to explore, practice, and grow. Winning becomes a gift, and losing becomes training. This way, you grow an inner strength that depends on nothing outside of you, because results shift, but your values and your character are the foundation that holds you steady. When you cut your worth loose from results, you stop being a prisoner of approval, fear of failure, and outside pressure. You live with more calm, more freedom, and more bravery to keep going, because you finally see that you are far more than what you achieve. 8. When the mind leads, everything transforms. Your thoughts must be tougher than your muscles, steadier than your feelings. You have both body and mind, but it is the mind, with its light, wisdom, and power to decide, that has the strength to shape your whole life. When you use this gift wisely, you make the best use of the greatest treasure nature gave you. Inside yourself, you already know what should be done: to act, to study, to take care of your health, to make choices that matter. But many times you don't, because you let the body take control. You promise to read for 30 minutes but end up not doing it because you are tired, lazy, or not in the mood. In such moments, ask, will I let this control me? If you give up, something smaller takes command over something greater. When impulse takes over reason, the result is sadness, regret, and the feeling that you are wasting the time of your own life. You don't allow the mind to reach its full power, but the truth is the decision is always yours. The key is to make your mind strong enough so it doesn't bow to sudden wishes or swinging emotions. When the mind leads, you walk with direction, clarity, and purpose. Living in this way helps not only yourself but also everyone around you. This is the real base of joy, choosing what is right instead of what is only simple. Putting thought as captain changes the whole journey. It is like stepping out of a dark cave into a bright field of light. After only a few days of discipline and awareness, you feel like someone who has spent years rebuilding who they are on the inside. That change begins with clear and strong principles. Value reason, look for what is correct, and let your mind be in charge. Train your mind so it becomes the guide of your body, your feelings, and your life. Because without light and inner firmness, you will always be carried away by impulses and by whatever happens around you. This is the first move toward real change. Choose that your mind is the leader, not the servant. And if these words touched you, write in the comments, "Today I grow stronger." This small but real decision is the starting point of the change you long for, because nothing comes from outside to inside. Everything begins with the choice you make right now. If you stayed with me until the end, leave your like, share this message, and subscribe to the channel. Thank you for watching.